Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Hey, welcome back to Never Been Promoted. Hi, Thomas Helfrich, your host. We're on a mission to make some more entrepreneurs in this world, make them better at entrepreneurship by cutting that tide, all the kind of crap holding you back. And you know what it is? It's those fears, those excuses you make every day. I didn't work out because I'm not going to go watch that video to learn how to do this because you know how it is. You're in the middle of that. You got to break it. And listen, the entrepreneurs we bring on the show have been through this. They're going through this. They're going through these little things they've figured out along the way. And they, have built companies and they're still struggling with a lot of the same stuff that maybe you are. And the whole idea is to learn something from them. And so if this is your first time here, enjoy it. I hope it's the first of many. And if you've been here before, I really do appreciate you coming back. Before we get going here, today's guest, Alex Sheridan, he's saying, say goodbye to marketing agencies. And so we're going to talk about how you do that and why you do that. He's the founder of Impacts. And so we have a nice conversation today. My one shameless plug, I asked, please go to youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Do a subscribe. We go live a lot. And when I become when I grow up, we'll actually plan ahead of time and not make them pop-ups. We'll actually plan them. So, but listen, let's go grab Alex. Let's bring him on the stage here if I can figure out how to use technology correctly. There it is. Hello, Alex. How are you?
What's up, Thomas? Doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. I appreciate you jumping in today. Whenever you have about 46,000 followers on LinkedIn, you got to respect. It's like in my feed right now for like TikTok is about pickleball for some reason.
I love pickleball. So
right. And so they had this guy who's coming in, he's kind of like all like, a pickleball 3-0 walking in and a 2-0 kind of cowers to the side. Right. And then he sees the 4-0s coming and he gets out of the way. You got 46,000 followers. I got to just kind of step aside here and let you walk by.
I don't know about that, dude.
I appreciate it, though. Where are you joining from today?
I'm in St. Charles, a suburb of Chicago.
St. Charles. It's a good area. I like Chicago. I think you and I off camera were talking about this. Maybe not, but I'm not a huge baseball fan. I just learned the World Series is going on right now.
Yeah, same. I'm the same.
But I will say I'm from St. Louis originally. But before that, I grew up in the middle of Illinois for like 12 years.
Where at?
In just south of Peoria.
Okay, so I grew up in Springfield area.
So I was way out
central.
Is that south there? I was in Tremont. South. A tiny little town.
Yeah.
I lived in the middle of nowhere near Tremont. I think I was probably still 10 miles from there. Middle of nowhere. But my baseball order goes Cubs. I'm sorry, it goes Cardinals.
Yeah.
Then Cubs, and I live in Atlanta. Then Braves. So when the Cubs won, I was like, hell yeah, it's about time.
Well, I think a lot of Southern Illinois, Central Illinois folks didn't really feel the connection with Chicago because they were living in a different world being down south. So I think a lot, and it was just easier to get to St. Louis, at least from Springfield folks. So it was an hour and a half drive to St. Louis and then 3.5 hours to Chicago. So a lot of people, even though they're in Illinois, they became Cardinals fans.
Right. Well, I moved there, so I had to. Like, you cannot live in St. Louis and realistically have a chance to survive middle school and high school without being a Cardinals fan.
Right.
You could be murdered. It's okay too. It's legal in St. Louis. I don't know if you guys knew that. It's not. Guys, don't kill anyone. I know there's a lot of weird people in the world. Don't do it. Today, by the way, before we jump in, your Impacts, it's IMPAXS.com. I should probably put that on the screen. But the idea, yours is you want to say goodbye to marketing agencies. So maybe start with what your kind of hit them in the face statement is and why you say that, and back into your kind of creds and your journey a little bit of how you
so our whole model and really what we help companies do is to stop outsourcing all of your content to a marketing agency and really to start thinking about bringing it internally and building it with your team. And that could be done a lot of different ways. It doesn't mean building some super expensive, high payroll type team. Oftentimes it could be leveraging a couple talented folks in the Philippines. It could be maybe hiring someone in the States. But the bottom line is when you look at marketing agencies, we hear this all the time from talking to companies that, hey, the marketing agency is doing all of the content for us. It's slow. it doesn't perform as well because it's disconnected from the brand, from the owners, from the subject matter experts. They're not getting the results they want. They often tell me, I feel like they just don't get us. Like they just don't understand us either. And so you've got all these problems, and we looked, and we've tried to do marketing outsourcing ourselves. Like we did that for companies for a while, and we saw the same thing. It just wasn't as effective. So eventually, we just said, "Hey, this is a big problem with a lot of companies. We keep hearing the same thing over and over again. We've done a nice job building internally. We've built our own team. Can we help other companies do the same thing?" We tested it out. We started doing it. It started working tremendously well. We brought down overall cost long term. The content got dramatically more effective almost overnight. The brand was better positioned, and everyone felt good about what they were doing. And that team was internal now, so they had control of the brand. And that's what we've been doing ever since. So it's something I'm really proud of. I'm passionate about. I talk a lot about, hey, stop outsourcing your content to marketing agencies and start building internally. So that's where I'm at. I mean, I started, yes, how I kind of got here. Long story short, I was in sales for 10 years, started posting videos on LinkedIn in 2019, had no followers, was building a brand new page, and saw the power of inbounds, saw the power of putting out valuable content and having your customers and prospects raise their hand and go, "Hey, I want to talk to you. I saw one of your videos. It was really impactful. It taught me something, or it inspired me to take action, or I shared it with my CEO. Can we set up time to see if we can work together?" So I just started doing coaching and strategy and stuff like that in the very beginning, low level stuff, worked my way up. And then again, did a little bit of the done for you stuff, realized it didn't work so well. And then started helping companies build out their own internal content teams.
It's funny that you say, don't outsource it. Because I mean, I've been using the same writers probably, and I use ghost writers for stuff because I speak well, but man, making it's a different skill set to write it, for
Totally.
sure. And I would agree with you. Like, at some point, if you don't personally have to do it, but I think people need to like at least voice who they are and get all that right. I definitely don't think AI is a way to outsource it. I think it's a complementary thing to you. We can talk about that a bit, but I do agree that your content is so core to you. It's like saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have someone else pump the blood in my heart. Like I'm gonna just put another heart." And so I really do feel like companies need to own that fully, or at least be like we work with companies to do their content, but it's so done with you because it's like, "Hey, is this your voice?" But we ask them to give us the inputs and then we organize it. We just don't make up the stuff. And any company in the last 5 years that has asked us to do content for them only and without any input, has not worked. We've lost customers because it just doesn't work long term. It doesn't feel right.
Well, marketing has changed dramatically in the past 10 years, where a marketing agency used to be able to do a lot of content for you because it was designs, it was PDFs, it was slicks, it was, Instagram picture post, right? And not to say that performed well either, because it probably didn't, but it was a little bit more behind the scenes stuff. They were working on SEO, they were working on website, they were doing some design, they were doing some flyers. The game has changed. It's now video first. It's now social media dominant, organic social content. And you got to be good at it. And that is hard to do when you're saying, "Hey, do it all for me and just send it to me and then post for me." It's not going to happen, right? It just requires more effort, more creativity, more talent, more skill. And so our thought process again is just, you've got to be able to, that's why you want to build it internally. That's why you don't want to leave it up to someone else that's going to try to send you stuff that hopefully it works, and it's just not going to work.
When you were doing this and you were experimenting this, how did you measure the success of it? Did you run it in parallel? You just say cold turkey, screw it, I'm doing it myself kind of setup?
When we ran it with clients, right? So I've always built my own teams, right? I've never outsourced. I've never paid a marketing agency to do stuff for me. It never felt right. I wanted to learn it anyway. So for us, it always worked really well. When I started out helping other companies, very first thing I did in my business, early 2020, when I started winning my first customers in the business, I was doing coaching, strategy, training. I was teaching people how to do it themselves, solopreneurs, small business owners, how to build it internally. It worked so freaking well. They had to put in the work, but it worked really well. Then we started doing, about a year and a half, 2 years later, we dabbled in, hey, let's start doing it for some of these bigger companies because they don't have time, they don't have this, they don't have all the excuses, right? We started doing it for them. So we would assign a social media manager, we would assign a video editor, and we would kind of run the whole program. And we just noticed it just never performed even close to when it was built internally and the founder and CEO were more involved. And not saying they need to spend all day creating content, they absolutely don't. but they need to have a social media manager or a content director or somebody there that can do some filming, that can do some interviewing, that can do this, that can post, and they're attached to the company. They know the brand. It's their voice. They're one of them. They can be on a call with the customer, and you can get asked, or a prospect, and you can say, yeah, I was on 5 meetings today. They asked the same question every single meeting. They're asking, how do we tackle this problem? Hey, hey, Jerry. Hey, Sally, can we film a video on this? Yeah, I just had a prospect ask me this question, a few of them actually this week. Let's film a quick video and get it out there. Or we got to, update an FAQ video. There's just a million different applications. It's faster, it's more effective, and I think it's just the future of marketing in a lot of ways. So we saw it, I saw it firsthand, and then I saw it working with customers, and it was just so clear, man. It wasn't even debatable. It was just like, no question, this is the right way to go.
Well, I would agree. I probably have a couple caveats where it probably won't work. It's when the founder, this is probably when the solopreneur or very small teams where the skill set just isn't there. And though it's going to work better that way than it would, but likely they've never relied on inbound content to get business at that point. So if you have somebody who can't write, doesn't do it well, isn't really good at social, but they still have a company, you're still probably in the same spot because they're not going to see the value because they've never needed it. And so there's probably a line where you could outsource it if they have that initiative or whatever else, but they almost need to be involved, because if especially and this is not like $1 billion company kind of thing. This is like, because they could benefit from outsourcing, because they could give someone the night, like, here's all the data points, write us basically clever sales copy is what ends up being. But on a smaller one, you don't think there's a space where they're just terrible at it and you're better at it because you at least know the space, or do you, if you've never seen that work?
Well, I think most solopreneurs are not going to be able to afford like a full-on marketing agency, like, more than likely, right? So it's probably they're either going to do it themselves or not do it until they scale to where they can afford to hire help. But yeah, I mean, for content to work, the content has to be good, So it's like, if you're a business owner and you're saying, well, I'm not good at this, it's like, it's not that you're not inherently naturally good at it. You just haven't built skills, to your point. You just haven't put in the work, you haven't practiced, you haven't hired coaches to help develop those skills, you haven't put in the reps yourself. So you have to build those skill sets, whether you're going to do it yourself or you're going to build a team. If you're going to build a team, you got to understand those skill sets.
Right. You got to know enough.
Yeah, you got to know enough, right? So I just think it's like such a fundamental thing to the business. Like, some people are like, I'm not good on video, I'm not good at, it's like, then what can you do? You can write, you can get on video, you can do podcasts, you can do interviews. You've got a freaking skill set. Like, there's no way I'm suck at everything content related. No, you don't, right? Like, you just don't. It's just most people haven't done it yet. It's like, I'm not very good on videos. How many videos have you done?
Yeah, well, and we talk about the pure excuse cycle. That's you're just making. I'm not good on video. Like, some of the people who do great on video are just, hey, listen, they acknowledge it. They do the self-deprecating. Right. I don't know what I'm doing on video, but I do know about this one topic I'm about to talk about.
Yeah.
Great. Then just make it an audiogram. Like, I'm terrible on voice. Like, well, people don't care. They want to hear the problem explained. They're not looking for, Walter Cronkite.
Right. Exactly, man.
I may have dated myself there, but the idea is a really good voice, like the sexy voice guy. That's me. So never mind.
You have a pretty good voice, man.
I am self-promoting my sexy voice guy brand right there. Oh, it's nice.
You should. Baby. Even you've never been promoted, but you are promoting yourself on this.
I've never been promoted in career, but fuck that. We're gonna promote ourselves all day long.
That's right, man. That's freaking right.
I will tell you. You know what's interesting? We're a really good team work. So like I said, my team's been around for about 4+ years. Same team. I could give them and this is where the skill sets can happen, right? If you have a good, I'm going to give you the power of what you're saying. I'm going to support I'm going to endorse your idea through pure example without never meeting you prior to doing this interview, right? Well, for a few minutes, but we do the same thing. But the first 6 months of it were rough. It was not my voice. It was to this, to that.
Yeah.
You can accelerate that now with some AI. We can talk about how to do that. But it was like, I built a company with the idea that I didn't want to manage my own social media or write my own content. I wanted them just to be the ghost front for me. So I had more time, because I suck at operations. I know it. So I hire people to execute stuff. I like to show up to the meeting and talk. That's
yeah.
Once they got my voice, I don't think I could write like me now. Now, what I say and when I speak, I see it in the words they put in. But if I try to go put it in those words, it's terrible. And
right.
And that's where the power happens is, I can drop a 3-minute voice message to my writing team. And Sundays when my kind of personal articles come out, it's there. And it's there, and it's really well done. It's got a cool, fun image on it. It's got the right headline. There's very little nuance I need to do to it because they've gotten the point and they know how to organize the content. What I just described, though, is what you're saying you should do.
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're speaking to is someone that's worked for you. Like you said, the first 6 months were rough, and maybe if you're working with somebody that trains people for a living, that's, you can get that time down significantly to where the first 6 months aren't rough. But certainly there's a few months of just like feeling it out, right? And understanding the voice and the brand and the content and all stuff.
Part of it is, to be fair, the 6 months were probably me realizing, do I want to sound like that?
Yeah, right.
Who am I? Like, I'm kind of
so what you're speaking to is exactly what I suggest, is like you've built an internal team that has spent a lot of time with you, that knows your voice, knows the brand, understands the company, understands the mission, what you're trying to accomplish. And they've put in a lot of work, as have you, to build the skills around that, the systems, processes, automation, AI, right? When you look at a marketing agency, what are they going to do? They're going to give you an account manager, and they're probably going to cycle through account managers, and they're probably not going to be super great. And they're definitely not going to spend 6 to 12 months understanding the brand and your voice and getting so dialed into you, Thomas, and you only. No, because they have 30 other customers, 20 other customers. So they're like, all right, does this sound like you? Like, I hope this is good enough because I got to get to 10 other posts in the next hour. That's the problem with that model, is that if you really want to do it right, you need someone that's dedicated. You need someone that's like, this is my job, to do the copy, to do the posting, to do this, for this one company.
When we get hired by customers to do their stuff for content, we do assign a writer to them, and we rotate through the writers until we find the one that really matches with them best, and then they get tweaked from there. They don't. Sometimes they don't pay for a full time, but that person is like closest to their personality voice, and then they can tweak from there. Let's pivot that, though, to the AI topic. We leverage AI to help hone that in. So we almost create their own. Well, we just get it their own GPT version, basically, and we put all the information in there to say this. Don't say clients, always say customers, like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And we build it, and then the tonality of the chat becomes incredibly easy with really good prompts to deliver content. But you never say create it. We upload a SRT file and say create this with this compelling in this version format. That's how we do it. Some stuff to get scale and make sure it's consistent, so someone doesn't have a bad day or forget which account they're working on. What's your take on AI usage with this?
Man, AI is gonna it's so big, dude. It's so important. It's it's gonna change the entire world forever. It already is, right? So it's massively important that people start using it, and using it every single day, not just in marketing, not just in content, but just in everything, day to day. And I'm not saying you dehumanize and you don't, everything becomes ChatGPT. Of course not, right? It's a tool. I always look at AI as like, AI is your creative assistant that you have basically for free. That's just ultra smart. And I would argue creative too, even though people are like, it's not creative. Oh, well, define creativity then, because it can put 2 different topics together and make them into one. It can write scripts. It can do that. So can it think exactly like a human? No, but I don't need it to be. Right? I don't need it to do that. I need it to be my creative assistant that's at my side 24/7 and at my team's side 24/7. You'll appreciate it like this. One of the things that we're doing that's really unique from a content process standpoint with AI, I don't think anyone else is doing this when it comes to content and automation. Not yet, at least. We've partnered with a company recently where in our Trello boards, like in our project management tool, as soon as I move a card from it's been edited, right? It goes through the process, raw video uploads, there's automation, boom, the card gets created, it moves in G Drive, all these automations happen. Once that video is ready to be moved to ready for copy, as soon as it moves ready for copy in the ready for copy column, AI takes the transcript, which is in the card, and it automatically runs it through the prompt and creates AI. It creates the copy for us. And we can prompt the AI as if it were an agent of a copywriting agent, professionally trained. So we can give it different tones of voice based on customer, based on style, based on who their customer is, what the message, all that stuff, right? So we just simply move the card. Boom, automation happens. AI takes over, writes the copy. Then, of course, we're going to go through and review it, make sure it's good. We can always rerun it, that kind of stuff. Then it goes into post on deck, where there's another automation that happens where the video gets copied and sent to an archive folder, and then the other copy gets sent to edited videos ready to post with that AI copy. or with that generated copy. So it's just, that's one example of many, many examples. We use it in email, we use it in subject lines, YouTube, just about everything you can use AI in. And if honestly, if someone's not using AI every day in their work, or at least every week, I think they either don't understand how to really use it, or they're naive to its full potential.
Agreed. For example, this podcast, right? We meet when you come on the shows. You come on for the first 10 minutes. We build the show and ahead of time because I want this conversation to be as fresh, not pre-thought out, just really a good conversation on the topic of say goodbye to marketing agencies, right, or whatever it ends up being. But I'll show you something we do downstream that you just described. Let me see if I can. I don't typically share stuff because I'm not very good. We take these interviews, right, for the people who've been on our shows and been on there, and we go and use the actual show itself. And this automatically does it. We, take the audio, immediately dumps into AI. The AI gets the SRT. I'm sorry, we go into it's not AI, SRT. Then that's automatically put over, and we have a really cool prompt. This is one of our guests. We create that piece physically for them, but then this whole piece is super SEO'd for them. It's about the conversation. It's about what we said,
awesome,
reflections, what I learned. And the metrics on them, like going from having them. I was going to share this. This is kind of cool. Give me a second to find it. Okay, I think you'll like this. And I'm trying to show people evidence that by doing stuff with AI, it doesn't always have to be bad. We just started doing this maybe a little while ago. Like we just started launching in the last 90 days or there.
Dude, it's like AI doesn't make bad content. People that don't know how to use AI make bad content.
Since
that's what
releasing those articles, this is an unpromoted, never been promoted, it's a brand new site. This is what it did to it immediately.
That's awesome, man.
And when you show that, like it's not huge numbers, but we just launched it, right? And we just started getting these articles out. And the point being is, without AI, it'd take a writer a week to go through that whole video.
Absolutely.
And that's an automated thing. And we tweak it to make sure it's good, right? We add the links and do all the other things.
Yeah.
But that part with AI, and we don't build on Trello board. We use Monday, and it just kind of becomes part of the process. And just because somebody misclicks something, all of a sudden now it's writing AI copy and pushing it. And you're like, wait, that wasn't done. So we put humans in the loop. But if you're out there, listen, and you're a company and you're struggling with your content, I believe getting the right person on your team, and you got to be prepared to give them a chance to learn. They got to have a good work ethic, all the other things you're doing, and because nothing works if someone is a shitty employee or a thing. Talk about your style though, how you match a company and what you do maybe for them. So this is not shameless plug, so to speak, but what's the use case? I think you've described it, but tell me the use case they come to you, and how do you help them with this in your company?
So they come to us typically because they've been struggling with a marketing agency, right? So they've been working with a marketing agency for a while, and they'll typically tell us things like, "Hey, we're getting 0 results, 0 leads. The brand doesn't feel like it's us. The content's ineffective. It doesn't really sound like us. It doesn't feel like us. It's missing our voice and tone. The website's misaligned. Like we have no real way to track inbound leads or metrics. We feel like we're not prioritized. It's slow to produce content, that kind of stuff." That's typically what we hear. And then they come to us, and we typically take them through 5 phases. And the first phase is always, we look at the brand message. What is the story brand? What is the story that we're telling with our brand? And why does that matter to the customer? And of course, the customer is the hero in the story. So we look at everything from their website, copy, videos on the website, what I call buyer ready videos, which is bottom of the funnel, people that are getting ready to buy. How are we creating videos for them first? And then we align, all social channels to reflect that too, the new messaging, branding, things like that. The second thing we go through is we develop a content strategy. So typically when I come into companies, most companies don't have a content strategy. They'll tell you something like, "Hey, we're doing LinkedIn. We're posting 2 or 3 times on the company page every week. We got a blog that goes out."
What do you mean that's not a strategy?
Yeah, exactly.
So take that. So when someone believe hey, that's our strategy, we're going to post a couple times. Can you maybe just dive into that onion and take a few layers off? And explain to me what a strategy actually looks like in the context. Okay, cool. You're on LinkedIn. Let me explain what a strategy means for LinkedIn.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, if you look at a content strategy, to me, it's on social and then off social. So what is the strategy? Basically, if you think about what a content strategy is like, we have clients that we want to attract. We have a brand message and a story that we want to tell. All we're trying to do with our content strategy is go communicate that story, attract potential customers, and bring them into our ecosystem, right? And then kind of sales would take over from there, right? So what companies will do is they'll say, exactly what I just said, like, oh, we're posting 2 or 3 times on LinkedIn. Great. What's the strategy though? What story are we telling? Where is that? Are we getting attention? Where is it going? Where are we trying to take people? What is the overarching strategy, even outside of LinkedIn? How do we reach the people that don't see our content on LinkedIn? Like, there's no kind of ecosystem they have in play. And then the content's not even good anyways. So it's like I would consider posting on LinkedIn as a tactic that you would do within a strategy. That would be something you'd say, as part of our strategy, we're going to post 3 times a week on LinkedIn. And here's what we're going to post about. Here's the content pillars. Here's how we're going to design the copy, the videos. Here's what needs to be in here to actually convert to leads, right? To drive business. Here's who's going to manage that. Here's the process behind it. By the way, when we get people on there, we'd like to funnel them into a newsletter or to our podcast or this or that, or we'd like to send a few DMs to the people that follow. There's just like no real thought out process, and it's not necessarily their fault. They typically either have like a social media manager that's doesn't quite know what they're doing. There's like, I'm just running the company page. I'm doing a couple posts. Like the team got together for happy hour. Like, let's do a post about that. It's like, that's not a strategy either. Right. Or it's being done by a marketing company that's doing 30 other clients and they're just not prioritized. They don't really have this thought out either. So, again, we look at, not to go too far on this tangent, but we look
No,
at
I mean, it's important because I think people realize
it's
that
good, right? Yeah. And I love that you
specific.
asked that question too, because that's a great question. It's like,
I mean,
hey,
well,
time
content
out.
matters in that strategy. Like, so not to interrupt,
So,
but like, our idea is you start with what's the core problem you solve? Like,
yeah, bingo.
and
That's
then your
part of the brand
brand line,
strategy, right?
your personal brand lines around that, your messaging relies on that, your content relies on that, your live events, your
Correct.
newsletter, everything around that is around that one problem you solve because there becomes
Bingo.
ancillary topics. And
Bingo.
people are
And
like,
if
I
you,
don't know. I'm like, that's your
right. And
strategy.
so exactly, man. And that's part of the step one, which is the brand story messaging, that kind of stuff. Right. So if you look at our site, I know you're like, nice site. It's so clear. The one problem we solve is right on there. Like never outsource your content ever again. Say goodbye to marketing agencies. We'll help you build your internal team. Right. There's other things we do within that, but it's very clear on the one big problem that we solve. So, you look at the strategy, that's on social, off social, tracking systems, process, system, automation, all of that would be in the content strategy. Then step 3 would be getting into building your internal content team. So now that we know we've got the messaging, we're aligned, the digital platforms are there, we know the strategy, how we're going to execute it. Who do we need on the team to be able to execute this on a day-to-day basis? Now you're getting into coaching and training. Now you're getting into mentoring people to become great content creators. You could have the best content strategy in the world. It's going to do absolutely nothing unless you do this one thing, which is actually build the skills and either be coached or trained or build it internally yourself by trial and error, however you want to go about doing it. Of course, you can shortcut your success by having a guide help you through that, but you've got to be able to get good at the content fundamentals. You have to know how to engage an audience in the first second or two, because I promise you that's all you got. If you're going to do YouTube, you need to know thumbnails, titles, descriptions, SEOs. If you're going to do TikTok, you need to know short form videos and how to attract. Even LinkedIn now, the difference between a picture post, text post versus the vertical, LinkedIn, TikTok video feed now. Like, you need to know that you need to engage their sales navigator, their social selling tactics and strategies. You have to know these bits and pieces that go into the tactical aspect of the content. But that is the second thing you do after you have the strategy in place first. So they both have to work together. It's like, do you have a great strategy? If you do, perfect. Now let me see the content. It's kind of like ads, right? You got a great ad strategy. You got the right buyers and the personas. Looks amazing. This is perfect. But dude, your copy sucks. The fucking ad is terrible, right? The message is all over the place. It's not, the customers don't care about this, right? This is the wrong video. We're 3 seconds in. We're not even sure what the video is about. So it's all those things that go into after, once you lay out the strategy.
Yeah,
Really
and
matter.
actually, even on your side, as simple as it is, I would challenge you. I think you should dive into stating the more desperate problem you solve. If do you feel like your company's about to go under? Are you worried about where your next client's coming from, and you're going to have to lay off people or go back to work for somebody? That'd be like, that sounds like, right. Like,
but
you could
that's
go.
not where our customers are at, though.
I get it,
Yeah.
but I'm saying even on yours as direct as I think you guys could even tie to a more emotional string, because I'd be like, I need to talk to them.
Yeah.
Like,
Our
you
our
can't see away
strategy
money
is
with agencies with no content results.
right. Exactly. It's basically our target customers are 7, 8 figure businesses doing usually anywhere from 3 to 30 million. So
All right.
they've
So
got a
you're
good,
upscaled a little bit where
yeah,
that's not their main piece,
they've got a good
especially then.
business. Like, yeah, they're
Well,
generating revenue, that kind of stuff. But they're like, man, our marketing sucks. Like our
well,
content sucks. We don't have a
if
game
you're
plan.
if
Like,
you're working with a marketing director of one, effectively for a lot of those, uh, their only concern is keeping their job,
right.
and that is like that's the tug on the string of like, hey, are you feeling some pressure from your executives that marketing is not working? Are your sales leaders saying you can't produce a lead? Like, I'd say that's probably on the sales side. But anyway,
Yeah.
so where you're living, and my point of that is part of your strategy has to understand the desperate problem you're solving for them. Because if you don't, it's just meh.
Yeah.
And
I
listen,
mean,
I struggle with it all the time, and I have 2 brands that I have to fight with between instantly relevant and or 3 cut the tie and never been so. I'll take you offline on how to approach that multi-brand strategy, but 'cause I don't think we have enough time to dive into that
yeah,
one.
that's
Um,
that's a whole different
maybe
conversation.
a side strategy, and I know we've fallen victim to this, is we have all our handles for social media, but I only give attention really to LinkedIn, and we are just starting to a bit more in Meta, just because we're trying to drive podcast side. I even with a team, I feel hyperly overwhelmed with having so many social media accounts, and they pretty much. I mean, YouTube's where our big focus is in LinkedIn, but even then, I feel like they're dismal on some of the numbers and metrics. First, what's your take on that? On listen, just pick one, so like or and this feeling that almost everybody feels. I don't even run my marketing, right? The team does. I still feel overwhelmed. So, what's your take on maybe those kind of joint topics?
Going on multiple different platforms at the same time,
Yeah,
not
it's the
having it be
overwhelming feeling
overwhelming.
of having
Yeah.
multiple platforms, and they all feel very mediocre. Except maybe the one, like LinkedIn, we do pretty well with, even though I think our engagement's terrible, but
So
we don't target engagement.
so my advice would be if you're on multiple different social media platforms and you feel like all of them are kind of mediocre and doing okay, not really driving business, you're not seeing the results you think you should, I would say we can do one of two things. One, we can pour more time, resources, energy, money into making them all better at the same time. Like that can be done. And if you don't know how to do it, you hire somebody that does. If you have the resources, right? Maybe you hire an additional person that's going to help you really revamp YouTube, for example, because that takes a whole other skill set of the thumbnails, the titles. It's a different game, right? As you know.
Right.
The other side was where you say, well, we don't have the resources. We don't have the option to bring someone in or pay more money for this or that. Great. Then you say, we're on 4 channels now. Do we go to 1 or 2? And do we get really good at those 1 or 2 that we think are most valuable for our business and where our customers are? And hopefully there's some organic reach there. And do we just really drill down on those 1 or 2? And for a lot of people listening right now, B2B especially, that's LinkedIn. Like, I don't want you posting on Instagram, Facebook, Meta, like TikTok. If all of them are shitty, not working and it's not good content, I'd rather have you just say, let's just get great at LinkedIn for the next 3 to 6 months. There's hella opportunity there. Our customers are there. There's great organic reach. A lot of things with social selling to, go side by side with that. Let's focus. Let's get focused. So to me, it's like focus in, scrap the noise, get rid of the 1 to 2 platforms that maybe you don't need right now if you're feeling overwhelmed, or you bring in additional help, guidance, support people
Yep.
to make all of those better if you know how to do that.
Yeah. Well, I love that play. And one thing I've seen, and listen, I'm debating whether to do it too, is just do one post only on your LinkedIn or on your social media that you don't use. Instagram. It says all our content's on fill in the blank. Check us out here. Listen, we commit to this fully. Thanks for finding us here. One day we may be here, but go to LinkedIn if you need the stuff you need. Like, and just let people know where to go. And like that honestly might be enough. Like, all right, they're legit. They're telling me that we're not on Instagram. We just got the URL basically. Like,
Well,
I'm okay with that strategy myself.
the challenging part about that, it is tough to get people off one platform and onto another when they're in the midst of scrolling through the feed.
Yeah, I think just in general,
So
I think it's more
in
when people
general, yeah,
checking you out.
yeah,
Checking you out,
I
you
think
check
like
out that you're there, but you're not
yeah,
like
like
you look like shit.
podcast, you got the podcast clips. It's like go to YouTube for the long form or the podcast for the long form, but it is challenging to get some. If they're in a feed, like it's really tough to get them off that feed and then onto another one to go visit your profile. But I see what you're saying. It's like again, having a strategy, right? Where are we trying to take people? It's like where's the focus? Where do we want to take people down this
Right.
path? They see our video here. What's next, right?
We okay, so the last thing I'll talk about, just high level. I have multiple brands. We got about 3 minutes left here, right? And one strategy I'd love to hear your take on it, because this is why I have a podcast, so I can selfishly learn and no charge. It's great.
Yeah.
One thing we're doing is on LinkedIn. I'm trying to get all 3 brands to go, But what we were doing for a while that I find it didn't work was having kind of instantly relevant on one, cut the time the other, never been promoted on another. What we did is, you know what, let's just change the funnel. Cut the tie is the top of funnel that we're going to go with, which is like kind of more of a Facebook group. Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I want help. I want to learn more. And it just pushing everyone into that one thing, and then just having the tie and the white across all brands. And the truth is, because the idea is stay as high level as you can on your thing and give as much value on all the channels you can, and let people come into you based on where they listen. I'm interested in that. Do you like that strategy that we've moved to? Or would you think, listen, no, be this one person on LinkedIn, be this person on Meta, be this other thing on TikTok?
I like the strategy of, you've got one personal brand. Let's leverage that and go deep on that one thing that you want to do, that expert, opinion, or that thought leadership, or whatever you're going to talk about. I would say this is that, yeah, you have one personal brand. So your question is like, if you look at it like you've got one bucket, I can max this bucket out and fill it really high and really make that personal brand great in that 1 to 2 areas of expertise. Or I can start taking water from this one bucket and moving it into another bucket and then another bucket. But what is that going to do to the first bucket? It's going to dilute it. The second bucket, it's not going to be as full. So the third bucket's going to be the same thing. So to me, it's like, I don't think there's one right or wrong way. I always look at, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? What are your goals? And I'm sure you probably do the same thing, right? What are we trying to accomplish? And if you're saying, well, I want to grow my business through my personal brand, perfect. Then you better be talking about that stuff in the content, right? If you're talking about this and that and this, and then you're like, well, I'm not drawing as much leads as I wanted to. It's like, yeah, dude, because you're not talking about the thing that you're trying to drive. Like,
Right.
all I do is talk about video marketing and content, building your own content teams. I would love to talk about other things. Of course, I will at some point in my career. It's a timing thing. It's not right now.
Right.
Occasionally, it's fine to occasionally touch on other things. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but people, I think, try to go a million different directions, or 2 or 3 different directions, and it ends up just confusing people. And then you're competing against somebody that's going 100% in on the topic, and you're going 50. You're gonna lose, right? Like, you're not as dialed in.
And I have absolutely experienced this. So my engagement on my site and my things, because we've been like, hey, are we gonna, like, I really don't always want to go 100% LinkedIn. Our instantly relevant has been very focused on how you use LinkedIn, the methodology. It works really well. It is not instant gratification. It's how LinkedIn's supposed to be used. Networking, 15 minutes, let's chat. Just like you and I met, that is the system to get someone on that I'm interested in.
Yep.
But you wouldn't have met me if I had instantly relevant up there. You came on and we met because, hey, Cut the Tie, good podcast. This helps me. Right?
Yeah.
This helps. So we switched to this, and now our entire content set, outside of some very small things around marketing specifically, is around just our guests. It's around their expertise. It's just promoting others so others can learn how to become better entrepreneurs. That allows me to touch lots of people. That allows my brand to be easy to consume. And then it's like, hey, what else does this guy do, if anything? Yeah. And that method is puckers your butthole up so tight, because you're like, whoa, I'm getting away from more of a direct sales. This is what I do and can do for you. Yes, but you do have to have effort and a strategy in place down the street that says, hey, by the way, this is what I do for this. I have a triangle. You're here. We also do these 2 things, and I have this thing coming. And they're, I actually need help with that. Awesome, because you've just gotten time with someone. But that is not an automated process. That's, we can get into bigger pieces. Well, I know you have the bounce today.
I'll give
you
a quick thing on that really quickly. It's like, I have my own podcast, right? But do I do a lot of clips and promotions and that kind of stuff for it? No. Because it's just a choice. It's not a top priority for me right now. I love doing the podcast. I've won some customers from having them on the podcast, as I'm sure you do too, right? So it's a good BD channel. It's a good outreach. If I want to talk to somebody, get them on, I can communicate with them.
Oh, you're in our funnel now.
Exactly. I love it. And I genuinely enjoy having these conversations, as I'm sure you do too. I can tell, right? So it's called Founder Talk. I have other founders on the show. I only do in-person podcasts, right?
Oh, that's great. I'd love
that.
That.
I only do that, right? It's a pain because it's harder to get guests, but it's for me, again, it's just a personal thing I wanted to do. But you won't hear a lot about that. And you can say, well, Alex, why aren't you promoting your podcast all the time? Like, well, that's not my main objective or goal right now. My main objective
was your
to drive leads
to people that hit your objective.
Correct. It could be, but even that, just like, that's a slower funnel than me just talking about the things that I could talk about and get millions of views on LinkedIn and other places. So for me, it's like, what is the priority right now? Now, I may get to a point in a year or 2 from now where Founder Talk podcast becomes one of the main priorities. And so I'm sharing more clips from the show. I'm talking about it more. I'm driving more people there. And maybe that's into the funnel, right? but it's just not there today. So it always goes back to like, what do you want to have happen? And then the content should map that every single day.
Agreed. And I'll leave you with this, right? So because we found a way to grow through advertising on YouTube very quickly, I see this subscriber base. If I can get the content right, you have 1 million plus subscribers. You find a way to get half of them $1 million, $1 a month for something, for live shows they want to attend, stuff like that. Now you're talking $500,000. You'll keep 300,000 a month from YouTube.
Yeah.
Off $1 that someone's giving you.
Yeah.
That to me is why I put so much effort into this, because long term, I'm going to help more entrepreneurs by reaching more people. And then also the long-term payoff on that could be incredible.
Makes sense, dude. I think what you're doing is smart. Yeah.
And it's a different way. And I'll tell you what, when you make that decision to switch, just entrepreneurs, you're going to pucker up your butt's going to go, oh, I will tell you what, we've gotten more leads for the other business by doing it this way, because people have gotten to know me and understand that, hey, I can trust this person, because they are actually, I'm here to help entrepreneurs. That's very clear. And I have a few things to do it. So what you're doing is very clear. You help these businesses grow by getting control of their content and the voice. And I love that about you. I really appreciate it.
And dude,
awesome. You good.
No, I was gonna say, I love helping entrepreneurs, and I've done a little bit of business coaching on the side at times like that. So, I mean, for me, that's a ultra big passion of mine. But again, it's knowing like, but that's not the focus right now. And if I take off what we're sitting on right now, it's going to prevent me from being able to do that later on and having the stories to share about what we did. So you get it, right? So it's like,
I do.
It's about like, yeah, I'd want to do this right now, but it's like, be patient, dude, build this company for the next 2 years. And then you can talk all the rest of your life about that stuff if you want to.
I love it. I'm gonna reserve the right to ask you to come back on, because we have some more topics we can.
Would love to, man. Yeah, would love to.
I'm gonna do your shameless plug for you. It's Impacts, IMPAXS.com. Here's his face. He's big now. I am there. He's looking good looking. Probably one of our best looking guests. I'm gonna throw that out there too, by the way. So if you guys are listening to this, jump on the YouTube and be like, oh wow, okay.
Check out the face.
Just out the face. He's shirtless. If you're listening to this, he's shirtless the whole time.
I got abs too, so check it out. Women.
Right. I have abs too, but they're under a layer of fat.
Yeah, well, we all have them, right? It's just a question of, are they at their full potential?
I've been telling my wife for years, under construction, but it's coming out. All right,
that's good.
All right, I'm going to put you in the periwinkle room. I'll be right back with you. Thank you so much, Alex, for coming on today.
Thank you, man.
Hey guys, thank you for listening. I really appreciate everyone who's made it to this point. If this was your first time here, I really hope you enjoyed it, got something great from it. Wherever you are in your entrepreneurial journey, either thinking about it, about to started, or like, you're a multimillionaire and you're like, just, want to learn more. This is what it's here for. It's help you learn something from our guests, what they did to build their companies, what they do for the world, and what they're thinking about the future, what matters. Alex is awesome. Check him out once again. I'm going to give him another plug there. IMPAXS.com. Impacts. Very good agency, very focused on what they do for you. And that's an indicator, typically, that's a really good company to work with, when they're focused on a single problem they're solving for you. So thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Until we meet again, get out there and go unleash your entrepreneur.